Good evening. You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, and alongside me tonight from the Great Midwest, as always, I have RDV. We're talking about Tulsa King, Season 1, Episode 5, the most recent drop here, starring Sylvester Stallone. And I got to tell you, RDV, my initial take on this is, back in the 80s when I would be going to the roller skating rinks wearing my corduroys and silk shirts and all that stuff, macking on the ladies, occasionally we would get a song that would not be in place, as it were, of all the poppy, catchy stuff in the 80s. It was a little more subversive, and it was a funk song called Big Electric Cat. So Google that afterwards and see how weird it is, and I absolutely adore it. Why is this relevant to this episode 5 of Tulsa King? Simple, because here on Xtreme TV, where we take an entire season and review episode by episode, we've talked about how we got the initial yuck stuff, fish out of water with Stallone, and how excited we are that this is a weekly drop and seeing it, and the introduction of a lot of side characters whose various levels of involvement we may not know yet. However, with I think an 8-episode season, we're at the halfway mark
10,
now.
10 episodes.
Is it 10? So we're halfway through. It's like, shit happened in this episode. Things started to click. This was not a funny episode. This was serious. This was what I call drama. And it was engaging. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I'm starting to care about these characters. I'm starting to care about Tyson and the Crooked Cops. I'm starting to see that, hey, the leader of the biker gang, who kind of came across as a wimp or a sissy to me last episode, looked almost strong, even though he kind of reminds you of Breaking Bad, right? But Stallone was great being away. Shit happens. It's a great episode, and it's the best so far. I was really excited. I was like, damn it ended too soon. I want the next one. Yeah, and we haven't even seen much of Dana Delaney or whatever, but we've got some quick side subplots that just with a few scenes we see how they're going, and I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. So yeah, that's my take on it. I'm waiting to dive in here deep, but let me hear your initial take on this before we start piling in on some of the scenes.
Yeah, this was obviously a reunion. He's going to see his brother, his funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And of course Tina's gonna be there, and he kind of wants to connect with her, but he also knows that he was a piece of shit father, and he just realized how much she's grown up, and I think she's done without him, and it eats him up inside. Well, he also when he arrives in New York, though, he also gets a call from the New York mobsters. So now it's like, okay, now they're upset because he didn't get permission. He just came back to New York, even though they told him to stay away.
Yep.
So he's got to go see the old man because the old man's in the hospital. We're not sure why or what happened, or if he's dying in this episode or whatever. Or he's we know all he knows is he's been on a oxygen tank from the first from when we saw him, so he doesn't have that long to live. He must have cancer, I think, or something along the lines, or emphysema. But he sees. So he's in there. He's got the new Don, wants him to, hey, you need to come in, pay respects. And he's like, or going there. He's like, well, I'm doing this first. So he goes to see them afterwards. They kind of like, talks to him a little bit, and he sees one of the girls there. And at first I'm like, who the hell is this person in the waiting room? Obviously, and he's polite to her in front of the guy who's basically jolly broke, and the guy gets pissed again. And he's like, let's start shit. And he's like, he's I love how Stallone just kind of like just rolls it off and just is like, it's called being a gentleman. You should try it sometime. Or something like that. Goes in and speaks to the old man. Like I said, there's so much happening in this one episode. That's why I was like, when you said 8, I was like, oh my gosh, because I don't want it to end so quickly. Because like the way they're building up, I thought I was like, man, they're getting to the meats and potatoes here. And I would suck if there were only like maybe 1 or 2 episodes left, like do the Disney shit where you have 6 episodes.
Yeah,
I'd be so pissed. But even while that's going on, we find out, well, the other shit's hitting the fan now because this is the fallout from the fight with the biker boys, the Black McAdams, and well, it turns out they had the cops in their pocket, at least 2 cops. And they tell him, we got fucked over. You need to go do your job and find out more about this Van Freddy. So they pull over the driver, Tyson. Tyson gets illegally detained, and they throw him into lockup.
Yeah, they plant evidence in his
Yeah,
car,
yeah.
all this kind of stuff, and we could tell this is how the good old boy cops do it without getting too crazy. I mean, honestly, you go, man, this is totally believable. And it's not a white black thing; it's a we're dirty cops thing.
Yeah, yes, it is, yes. And so so they basically throw him in the, and they obviously they want his phone. They want to access his phone because it makes it easier for them to find out who else is involved with his man with Dwight, and they it's because Tyson doesn't want to crap in the hole in the middle of the jail cell room with everybody else there. They basically tells them because they want to know what's your password to your phone. He tells them the password, and then next thing we know, we see the weed guy. We see Brody or Bodie.
Bodie, yeah.
Yeah, being like it's like nuts. It's like how this all falls out, falls out in this episode. Bodie's now being taken. He's taken hostage, put a bag over his head. He's led over to see the white supremacist guy. The guy the lead Nazi or neo-Nazi or what I don't know, whatever you want to call him, white nationalists. And he's like got a knife to him. I'm thinking like he's just this guy doing the tough act. He's like, oh, tell me about your boss. And Bodie's honest. He's like, I don't give a shit about this guy. This guy came in. He's embezzling me. He's basically taking money from me. And it's like I don't care for this guy. So obviously Bodie squeals, narcs on him and everything. They go at him going to I believe it's Mitch's bar. Then they're gonna, and this is why I love this part. I was like, oh man, they're gonna go after the bar guy because they know the bar guy is who ordered the tanks, and he basically calls up the cops and tell them you're on Cherokee property right here. Your jurisdiction is mean shit. Get your little fat ass out of here. And I was like, it's kind of weird how they kind of stood down, but then they gotta realize, yeah.
You guys probably got cameras all over the place, which I don't look for. But the point is
yeah.
this guy they're holding back. You can tell he's the alpha in his place. He's got the history. They're just, keeping him locked and loaded, coming off the bench, ready to score and drop 20, right? This guy, right. It was a great scene, but it tells us that, hey, I think it was Cherokee land. He said, hey, you guys have absolutely zero jurisdiction here on Cherokee land. And the cops are like, they kind of recognize and they let it go and they do the smart thing. They're not stupid, these dirty cops. And one guy tries to intimidate one of the cops by saying, well, we'll be seeing you. He goes, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, without missing a beat. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is a great scene, because it's never just about good versus evil or A versus B. There's always this third thing going, because you're absolutely right. The biker gang, as tough as they appear in this episode, okay, how do they get their money? Where are they going from? Are they really an extension of the old mafia's family? Are they involved with a different group? Mm-hmm. We know the ladies that with the ATF, so she's going to be involved on a periphery a little bit. They've already introduced her. She's not much in this episode, but having a scene like this demonstrates his ability to, move the story along by claiming what's going on there. And you always, when you have three different areas, like in this case, private Indian land, you're like, well, wait a minute, we haven't really talked much about Native Americans in the area and what effect they may have on stuff. It hasn't really been introduced, really, until now, it seems like. So that was just a great scene too. And he's got the really hot country ladies there too. The first time we've seen an episode that didn't have, Midwestern porkers, pardon the expression.
Yeah. The other thing was that, because there was, I guess you could say a little bit of humor, but also on the part that Stallone's character, Manfredi or Dwight, his voicemail is full. I'm thinking this guy probably doesn't even know how to work the delete voicemails and stuff.
Yeah.
So this, because Tyson uses one free phone call called Dwight, but of course Dwight couldn't leave a message. But overall though, yes, I'm glad they're using more of Garrett Hedlund in this, aka Mitch, the bar owner. Because I was like, at first he's kind of like a character here and there. I'm hoping he's promoted to regular. Because right now he's kind of like a guest star.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, I hope this goes more than one season. I'd love to at least get 3 out of here. But anyway, so after this, we're kind of like thrown over to the ranch, part, and I forgot. I was like, oh my gosh, let's go Roxy.
Yes.
Yeah, she's a, and at first,
She's in with the white nationalists, but she
yes,
works here at this ranch.
with Armand.
That's right.
And she called and first because at first she says something and it's like, oh yeah, or complimented him on the hey old man, I didn't know you could throw down like that. And it's like, and he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like at the thing, it's like, oh yeah, so and so said they saw you. It's like, is there? There was no one there. He's like, so he and then she finally, later in the set, in the stable, it says, oh yeah, my old man or whatever, or I guess where she said, or how she's related to the other guy, but she's like, yeah, he's really a big deal, it's like, you're gonna killed, you should Google him. I'm thinking like, and I love how minds. I mean, now this might be only his downfall, but he's a little bit more brash now since he got in a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
got
So
his balls back.
he's got his balls back. Now the problem is though is that he might get over his head and get too confident, But I mean, I hope he doesn't. I hope he's not the first one to get killed, like set example, whatever. But overall, so he later on that, do you see him? He basically like after mouthing off to her, he's like saying like, oh yeah, I've dealt with worse men than him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm
that's
not
true.
worried
We
about
know that from his background, and we
Yeah,
don't
yes.
know with this transformation if we're going to see a darker
Now,
side to this guy or a more slick side or what we don't know. And that's kind
now,
of neat. There's always these hints of these
so
people and what they have in their past.
so here's the flaw with this. He googles up the main guy, the main bad guy, the Wayne Nash guy, and it pretty much tells, oh, this guy deals in meth and also in the laughing gas tanks. I'm like, really? It's I don't like. Did he made the news, and I guess that's public news, because I thought the ATF would be like, yeah, we're keeping an eye on this guy, and we're not because so I was just kind of weird that he had the information on him and that quickly. I would have
Oh,
not.
it's easy to get, especially
Yeah,
remember they own the cops.
yeah. But sure they own, yeah, but he doesn't own the cops though. Armand, because he googled up the main white nationalist guy. So so he's able to find an article about the guy. Sure, maybe he had a history or suspected
Yeah, that's
connection
all
to meth.
public record stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the tank though, I wouldn't expect that to be public record, especially if he worked his cops under his thumb. But anyway, regardless of that though, yeah. So now I guess you're gonna see him kind of backtrack a little bit because now you realize, oh, we're really gonna deal with this guy here too. Dwight still has no idea what's going on back here. He's in New York. He's dealing, trying to reconnect with his daughter, Tina.
Right.
He learns so much about her and stuff. He tries to do it, like at the wake. He before they have the nice dinner and stuff. There, people are complaining, "Why are we at this?" And he's like, "Well, this is a 4-star dinner." Like, and his daughter, I understand there's strain there, but she makes a big scene at the dinner at the thing, and she's like, "No, this is all about you. It has nothing to do with Uncle Joe. This is all you showing off." And he's like, "No, it's respect. And so she ends up leaving. She takes her husband with her, who's basically a yes man.
Yeah, they both have extremely punchable faces, which allows you to just kind of really seethe on them a little bit. And maybe that's a little bit too easy, but she won me around, which is kind of hard because we've seen some quick switcheroos here emotionally. But when he goes to visit her at her shop, because she's actually been a productive
Yeah,
young person in her life, getting married and having the business and whatnot to her degree.
yeah.
So he's talking to her. She did a really good job. And the reason why we find that she's so upset is because not only is he showing up after being absent in her life, she basically lets him know as they're talking that, things were not easy for them. Nobody was around. They didn't have money. She didn't have a checking account. You were stuck in there. And basically what we're starting to find out is that even though he did the honorable thing, Dwight was the only one that pretty much was the honorable one living by that code. And so there's a lot of these secrets that this current family has that we may not know of, but are starting to leak out. And the only way these people are handling with it is by shipping them out to Tulsa. Now, why they just didn't put the hit on them, even though, that's a
Hmm.
possibility, I don't know. So it's going to be interesting. So I think there's a bigger pattern at play here that might come in, like say season 2, or we might get hints of it now. So I don't mind all these little subplots here because they are advancing everything. And again, there's nothing funny here at all. But what she does do is as she's talking to him, he can just tell that she's really upset, and she talks about how, you weren't around to kind of protect us and do what you're supposed to be doing as a dad or whatever.
Nico the
And
package.
this was a
Yeah.
scene that it's amazing how quickly it can come up rather than going, I hope this fucker gets it. You didn't really like the guy, Nico,
Yeah.
but she basically intimates, saying that, oh, one day when mom wasn't around, when Nico came around to check up on us,
She found out why his package, right?
yeah, she, was assaulted sexually. And so she's like, please don't do anything, blah, blah, blah. And it's a good scene, not because of what happens next, but because we've saw from the very beginning that the majority of his time, besides getting some passable income going through, which is what his function is, which he dealt with really
Yeah.
quickly, he's trying to connect with her. So, of course, it cuts to which is the last scene of the whole show, is him going and trying to look for him. And this is just great stuff. This is what we want to see. We don't need it, 50 minutes out of 60 minutes. We just need it for a minute, and it has to be done right, and it's great. He beats the absolute shit out of Nico in the room where everybody's just kind of hanging out and everyone's kind of standing like, what the hell's going on? He burns his face. I mean, this looks realistic. This doesn't look like a lot of quick cuts or whatever like that. And he drags around, and then they don't show up, but you see him stomping on his face with a real squelchy kind of sound. It was really,
you see the huge pool of blood come. Obviously, the guy's dead.
Yeah, he was not fucking around. I'm like, holy shit, what a way to end the episode. I mean, this is good, brutal stuff because, again, I'll say this. When we saw this first few episodes, we thought, okay, maybe it's going to be a bit goofy, a bit hokey, a bit campy. Maybe it's going to try to do a lot of things. And my concern is you can't keep that up. This episode, none of that. What an about face too. So bravo to the writers and everybody involved here, because this was engaging. Like I say, this left me wanting more. I like it. It's escalating.
So my thing is like, all right, I've been hearing people talk about this, online and saying like it's just kind of like Sopranos. I never watched Sopranos, and I don't know how that was. But if Sopranos is good, obviously, guys, you got to get whacked off. It's mafia. They were serious drama, but you also had problems come across, and then you solved it. Like any other show like this. And the fact that he went out and he just took out Nico and just killed him. And they're like, what are you doing? So obviously we get at the end of this episode, at the credits roll, you get the trailer for the next episode. Now they're like, the son of the Don is like, hey, we can't do it. He need to kill a guy. We got to do something about this. So now Dwight's going to have to worry about them putting a hit on him because obviously he doesn't give a shit anymore. He went to the old man and told him, he's like, you didn't know about this? It's like, you promised to take care of my wife and my daughter. You didn't do shit. So he didn't even know about this. And he walks out of the room, after putting his hands on the Don, and grabbing his face. I thought at first, like, oh my gosh, he's gonna put the blanket or the pillow of the guy and just kill him, because Stallone was his character Dwight is just learned that his daughter is raped. He's so pissed. He wasted his life, everything. He can't even see his grandchildren, and his daughter hates him. He's at this point he loses it. So that was great about it, having that as the last scene that you find out there, and he just kills the guy. So now he's gonna have to worry about. He's got the white nash list. He's got the cops. He's got the ATF, who are looking into it, looking into him. And he's got now the New York mobsters are going to want to kill him. He's got multiple people who are after him. He even talks to his ATF hookup girl in this episode too. For a brief second, she calls him and he's like, New York. He's like, for your funeral. And he's like, oh, and then she says like, hey, she kind of warns him that shit's going down, with the what? Yeah. So she got, so obviously you're gonna see her being the one on his side, maybe trying to talk him down to let himself to be arrested again or whatever, or maybe the ATF will cut him a deal. Who knows? But he's got two groups now. We're gonna want him dead.
That's the point. I'm really liking all this here. It's you're starting to see all these different factions, and it's kind of hard to kind of organize them and put them in their
Yeah,
the corners where they belong, because there's always going to be those fringe characters that can kind of jump ship a little bit. And I don't know if Sopranos did that, but to your point, when you're dealing with mafia, you're going to get family, you're going to get drama, you're going to get people are going to get whacked. And so right now, with it being tense, I really really like this, and it's the people that are in his group are kind of forced in his group, really. So what loyalty do they have other than the fact they had one bonding moment where they all took their baseball bats and, beat up the biker people and took their money and nitrous back? So to me, I'm going, I really want to see him going, ah, shit, and again, as of this stream, we don't know that season two's been renewed. I'd be surprised if it didn't. I've heard, based off what little research I've done, that this is done as well as, say, House of the Dragons has for HBO, in terms of like minutes watched and people signing up to catch it. And I can see why. The weekly drop's been very good. They were very deliberate about their pacing in a way you could almost defend them by saying, well, we had a few fun scenes in there so you could just kind of enjoy it and have a good time while we set up the boring stuff. And now we take away the cute stuff, because now we're taking that boring stuff and starting to make it exciting. So I'm really pumped, and it's kind of like when we would watch one of these shows that had all these characters. We'd go on a Brianna Tar, tirade about how good this was here, or how this one guy changed, or how the little girl who went on her own sort of
hmm
thing. Will she be that? It's one of those shows that if the characters get shown to us enough, just a little bit, and as long as they get a chance to shine briefly, I think we'll find ourselves getting attached. Because let's be honest, you and I spent a little bit of time talking about Tyson, right? And we see him now dealing with what it's like to be on his own, and being harassed by cops and how to deal with it. And right now, he doesn't look like he knows what the hell he's doing. And so we kind of feel like he's a good guy. I don't know. Armand, you can't trust him. He's getting his balls back. The new Don, or whatever like that, that's just waiting for the father to die, Charles or whatever like that, the head guy, he sucks, but at least he's
yeah,
got brains, unlike Nick, who got whacked. And then Crazy Stacy, uh, she's going to be a bigger part, like you said. But
yeah.
Bodie could be interesting. I Mitch, the owner, I'm really interested in him because he hasn't said too much. So there's the mystery of it. All the stuff's going to start tying together a little bit, and watching it unfold is going to be great. At least
So
that's what I feel right
yeah.
now. It's
So
awesome episode.
so I was curious. I looked up Nico the Package, aka John Tiempo.
Hmm.
He's been in a lot of movies, man. He was in The Last Boy Scout. He was one of the main main hitmans. He was in Lethal Weapon 3, True Romance. The guy he's been in Money Train.
Money Train. Oh my
Yeah, I know,
goodness.
I know. He was
That's a
in.
90s movie.
I know, I know, right? Any of the States, he was in there. Too Fast, Too Furious, Bad Boys 2. He always plays the goon. He's in Cellular, which we covered, a couple months ago on
Hmm.
our channel. Uh, and he is in Endgame. There's another movie, The Departed. He was even on The Sopranos as a wise guy. He was Anthony and Maffei on there for 7 episodes.
Oh.
Yeah. So like, Righteous Kill. I'm just thinking this guy's been in a lot of stuff. He's just always, he's not the main guy, but he's there, and he's good at playing the role. I guess this was his shortest role or part, because he gets killed. Actually, no. Actually, take it back. He was on Boardwalk Empire for like 1 episode. This is like, he's only been in the show for 3 episodes. He started the first episode, and then we saw him a couple episode or 2 ago before. So I was just curious, like, who the heck is this guy? He's a mechanic Resurrection. He's Wheelman, Joker. This is like his first kind of like, not big role, but first where he actually gets noticeable, and he gets killed by the main guy.
Right.
So yeah, the cast is kind of like, I'm looking at the cast. I'm trying to see if I recognize anybody. It's Richie Callan Waltrip, I believe, is the main bad guy. That's Richie, or the White Nationalists. And it's him. It's like he's in the Dark Knight. He's been in everything. So I'm trying to figure out. Oh yeah, so this is where I know him from. I was curious. For those who watched The Walking Dead, this final season, he was Pope on there. He was head of the army guys, the crazy guys, the Marines who thought they were ordained by God to save the world, and they're known as. And he led the army group called the Reapers. and they go around kill people and steal their food and stuff. Crazy son of a bitch. And so now that I know this is out, because I wasn't sure if it was him or not, so I'm glad to see him be able to do another stab as a similar character, because that's gonna be fun playing these kind of characters and you're an actor. I hope so. Now I know he is, and because especially when this episode, he puts the knife to Bodhi's head and the way he speaks softly.
He's in charge.
He did that in Walking Dead, kind of similar character. He's calm, cool, hearted. So I'm like, I thought he was gonna like cut a piece of Bodhi's finger off and send a message to Dwight. No.
Yeah, I'm still not sold on him in that game, but we'll see what happens with it too.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's a way to really end an episode. We've talked about starting off to catch your interest, like a nice opening gambit. James Bond movies come to mind immediately. Then how you end it and what happens in the middle. Some of you might remember, some of you might forget, but obviously, in the beginning of this episode, we got previously on Tulsa King without the voiceover and a few scenes, and then if you watched it to the very end, they had a few scenes of what's going to be coming in the next episode. And so I think that obviously it's being done the smart way. It's a simple way. It's an easy way. It still works. It's effective with the weekly drops. It gets people talking about like we are here on Xtreme TV. And I'm looking forward to next Tuesday night when we cover episode 6. Any other quick final thoughts?
So here's my prediction. I think Bodhi's going to betray Dwight. He's going to play a spy because the guy threatened him so much.
If somebody does become a double agent, do you want to see it or do you want to find out? Like, I don't want to know it. And
no, I don't want to see. I don't want to see it. I want to find out at the very end episode. You find out this cliffhanger that Bodhi betrayed him.
And here's not a prediction, but here's a thought, because I like what you're thinking with that. I'm wondering if one of these people that's in his inner circle is kind of like how letter agencies in today's political climate have plants undercover with things. I'm wondering if one is like that, and I don't know, and that's got me curious because these people are not stupid that are around him, no matter what the roles are. I think they're pretty good. The fact that we're wanting to see the next episode, show's done a great thing there too. But
imagine if Mitch was a plant this whole entire time. That Mitch is the ATF, another FBI agent.
Right now, things are possible, but with 4 or 5 more episodes to go, it'll be interesting to see how they choose to leave it out and what plot lines they start in an episode or 2 or flesh out to leave open-ended to carry us into the second season, because that's usually what happens. You go down lane A, you get some resolution, while lane B kind of opens up or something. And I'm just waiting for the note that we're going to get a season 2, and then I'll breathe a sigh of relief as we enjoy the rest of the series here. All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Season 1, episode 5, Tulsa King. We'll see you next Tuesday night, 7 p.m. EST. We'll cover episode 6.
Real quickly, perfect casting for his daughter, that Tatiana girl playing Stallone's daughter. She's believable. She's bullheaded like him. That's all I'm going to say. Go check this out. See you guys next Tuesday.
Yeah, no, and nobody stands up for bad acting, so you're inherently right. The fact that you don't notice that is a good thing.
Good night,
all right, guys, have a good night.